Tonight, a family wants answers after a woman with bipolar disorder walked out of a hospital barefoot in a gown and was found dead last November. Also, 5 years of Scott Moe as Premier of Saskatchewan. We look at what his critics and supporters have to say about his time in office.
Oh, here we go.
Plus, all eyes on a small town rink in Saskatchewan after a video goes viral showing their unique way of getting on and off the ice.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, February 2nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. A family is searching for answers after a mother walked away from the hospital and was found dead less than a kilometer away. It happened last November in southeast Saskatchewan. The woman with bipolar disorder left without shoes, wearing only a hospital gown and pajama pants. Pratush Dayal reports.
You get much more of a down-to-earth, willing to lend a hand to anybody. Always put a smile on faces. Just an all-around happy being is what she was. Yeah.
That's how Damon Ireland remembers his mother Karen. He says since the incident November 23rd, his family still has questions. Most notably, how his 50-year-old mom was able to walk out of the hospital in Moosomin without any staff interfering. It was warm outside by winter standards, -2 with a -7 wind chill, but Karen was not dressed to be outside. The family says staff at the Southeast Integrated Care Centre, the community and the RCMP were all familiar with his mother's condition. Hundreds of calls had been made about her to the police and she'd been admitted several times in the past.
It could have been prevented very, very easily, which makes a family angry and upset. And we want things to change so it doesn't happen to another family.
A code yellow is usually issued in a hospital when a patient goes missing. The family says they were told that didn't happen. The RCMP received a report Karen was missing at 7:45 a.m. that day and she was found dead that afternoon. The family says they have been promised that the hospital will boost its security and surveillance.
During the meeting with the head nurse and patient advocacy, they told the family that no one monitors those videos anyway. And so, it just poses more questions.
Ruth Ireland Desjardins says her sister had a history of walking away from the hospital. She says in 2016, Karen was under the care of a psychiatrist trained in bipolar disorder. She says Karen needed and should have been treated by a specialized doctor. Desjardins says the most pressing concern is the lack of hospital preparedness.
And if you're not issuing a code yellow and you're skipping the indoor search and going straight to the outdoor search, then you are not following protocol. You're not doing your job.
The Saskatchewan Authority says a code yellow was issued, but it won't comment on any specifics of the case because of privacy legislation. It also says a critical incident review into this case is being conducted, but the family says it is considering legal action with the goal of accountability and preventing this from happening to another family. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Criminal charges are now laid in the abuse scandal at a private Christian school in Saskatoon. Aaron Benowise is charged with sexual assault and sexual exploitation of a young person while in a position of trust or authority. Until 2013, he was a coach and athletic director at what's now known as Legacy Christian Academy. Police say the 46-year-old, who now lives in Edmonton, turned himself in earlier this week. He's since been released and is expected to appear in court next month. Benowise is named as a defendant in a proposed class action lawsuit against the academy and its connected Miltude Church. The suit was launched after a CBC News investigation back in August. It revealed 18 former students had filed police reports about the abuse they say they suffered at the school. Dozens more have since signed on to the suit. It's still awaiting certification. None of these allegations have been tested in court. Today marks the 5-year anniversary of Scott Moe's swearing in as Premier of Saskatchewan. Laura Sharpoletti now with more on what his critics and his supporters have to say about his time in office.
I am pleased to announce that the new leader of the Saskatchewan Party and the next Premier of Saskatchewan with 8,075 votes, or 53.87% of the vote is Mr. Scott Moe.
It was a tight race against Alana Cook in 2018 when Scott Moe became leader of the Saskatchewan Party. Moe took over the role from former Premier Brad Wall.
If you were wondering how far I will go, just watch me.
From the get-go, Moe was eager to fight the federal government over the carbon tax, and that would make him popular in the polls for a time. But arguably, the biggest challenge the Premier faced over the last 5 years was the COVID-19 pandemic.
Now, as you can see, there's no mission accomplished banner that is hanging behind me. And that's because although the restrictions are coming to an end, COVID is not.
Trickle-down effects from the pandemic have created economic issues across Canada. Moe's government has consistently stood behind their handling of jobs and the budget. However, today, the opposition New Democrats and Labour experts took the 5th anniversary as an opportunity to put Moe's economic performance on blast.
Scott Moe has shrunk the economy, he's stalled job growth, and he's sent our kids packing, and that is if they can find a flight out of the province. During the Moe years, 36,000 more people have left our province than have chosen to call it home.
It's been a disaster, quite frankly. There has been nothing for working people. In fact, we're left out of almost every single conversation.
In a statement to CBC News, Minister of Trade and Export Development Jeremy Harrison said many achievements have been made in Saskatchewan under Moe's leadership. He countered Beck and Job's criticisms by saying the province has the second lowest unemployment rate in the country. Harrison also pointed to record levels of exports in the province and the government's handling of debt. Harrison says more needs to be done, but the government of Saskatchewan is working hard to make this year better than the last. The Premier himself was not available for comment today. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
Pharmacists, paramedics, and nurses could soon have expanded rules within Saskatchewan healthcare. The provincial government says it's looking at innovative ways to cut down wait times and improve access. Potential changes include allowing pharmacists to prescribe medication and having advanced care paramedics stitch wounds instead of going to emergency. Another change could allow nurse practitioners to admit and discharge hospital patients. Saskatchewan's Nurses Union says it fully supports the idea and would like more.
It is, the ability to do some more diagnosing, to be able to sign off on death certificates, to be the people that are actually in charge of our long-term care facilities. And I think that we can even talk about that in a more fulsome way. And I think there shouldn't be too many barriers in front of our ability to be able to push this forward.
Zambori says the changes could really help small and rural communities. The province is consulting with healthcare workers, unions, and regulators this month. Groups representing Saskatchewan paramedics and pharmacists say they welcome the discussions. Regina will soon see 2 more ambulances and 2 more paramedic response units on the road. The province's health ministry announced it is adding 24.5 full-time equivalent paramedic positions to Regina over the next 3 months. It says it's a response to EMS calls jumping by 14% between the 2020 fiscal year and 2021. Saskatchewan will also hire 2 EMS coordinators to support paramedics in the province. The move is expected to cost $2.4 million annually, but will be paid for through the SHA's existing budget. The province recently announced it would create 100 new spaces to train paramedics in the province. Canadian Blood Services has officially opened its new donor centre in Regina. It opened mid-December in the old Brewster's Brewing Company restaurant building on South Albert Street. Today they celebrated the grand opening with community officials, volunteers, and people who've benefited from the donation of blood products. CBS say the old centre on Broad Street was inadequate for current and future blood collection needs. The new centre is more modern and purposefully built.
And so this is the first new facility that represents that, what we call the donor center of the future. So it's really a benchmark site. And to Tracy's point, the layout, with it being relatively square, if you will, is a great advantage in designing donor flow and team member experience as well.
This is really a lifetime, as long as I'm able to donate a relationship, and it's kind of a double whammy. You're saving lives and you're volunteering, and it's just all positive.
Pierce recently made his 157th donation of blood products, inspired by his parents, who he says were lifelong donors. Canadian Blood Services is trying to make it as easy as possible to make donations. You can download the Give Blood app, call 1-888-2-DONATE, or book in at blood.ca. There's also a shuttle available for groups who want to book in. An immigrant family from Honduras had a life-changing day yesterday. 3 members of Victor Santos' family were sworn in as Canadian citizens in Moosomin. It's been a wild ride for the Santos family since 2017, when they faced sudden deportation. Santos came to Canada in 2007 after witnessing the murder of a journalist and then receiving death threats. His latest claim for refugee status in Canada was denied for failing to provide enough evidence to support his family's fear of returning to Honduras. But at the last minute, the federal government came through with a temporary visa. That brought them a little time, and in 2018, they became permanent residents. The family credits the Moosomin community for rallying behind them. The community organized a letter-writing campaign, circulated a petition, and got involved in the media.
They've been showing nothing but support and love to us, and we couldn't be more thankful. But like we said, we're not here to celebrate us. We're here to celebrate their hard work and everything that they've done for us. Really, truly, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. So the ceremony, we really owe it to them.
The Santos family says Moosomin is welcoming and a safe haven for immigrants. They look forward to celebrating as new Canadians with their community in the coming days. Well, as promised, it was a very cold day in Saskatchewan today. Most of the extreme weather warnings, though, have been lifted, and it's warmer now than it was this morning, that's for sure. It will be another cold night tonight, but then the warm-up begins. Ethan will share the details with you in his forecast after the break. Stay with us. A 95-year-old indoor rink about 45 minutes southeast of Regina is getting attention from all over North America. It's because of a video that went viral on social media this week showing kids getting onto the rink in Lang from a drawbridge. The people who take care of the rink are using it as a chance to raise funds to keep their aging community rink going.
I'd say every night there's a kid or two on it, unless it's minus 35 outside, in which case it's usually minus 40 in the barn.
One hot dog?
We just call it the old barn because, well, that's what you call old rinks in Saskatchewan, right? Hi, Brad! Looking good! Oh, this is home number 2 for sure. Always has been. I would say I probably spent 800 to 1,000 hours here a winter growing up. The amount of ice time a guy could get. You'd come here at 8 in the morning on Christmas holidays and you wouldn't leave till your parents called you to come home for supper, and then you'd be right back after supper till it was bedtime. Yeah, we spent days in here, and yeah, there was nothing else to do for 6 months in the winter in a town of 180 people. You just came here and you skated and you played hockey.
Hey, minus.
If there was figure skaters and other skaters, you split the ice in half so you could shoot pucks in one end. When they left for the night, you got the whole rink and it was game on, full contact game of shinny with the boys. It was built in 1928 and it became operational in 1929.
Is this the oldest rink in Saskatchewan?
We'd like to challenge that, so if anybody out there can claim that their rink is older in Saskatchewan and still operating, we would bow to their title, but we do believe that this is the oldest operating rink in Saskatchewan.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, no, that's the catwalk. I mean, I've had people asking me questions all the time, is that dangerous? I said, not really, if you know what you're doing. My 2-year-old daughter climbs up and down there better than that guy did. But it was a rare occurrence that the rope caught there, so no, usually it's pretty good. Well, it's just been nice to have some attention as far as we were just starting a fundraiser, actually, trying to get some funds to upkeep the rink. So yeah, we're pretty excited that we got some attention and it went viral, and people have been sharing our fundraising posts. So it's been great. The rink needs some work. It's 95 years old. It's an ongoing battle trying to make sure it's ready for the kids by Christmas every year.
This weather update is brought to you by the Capital Automotive Group. Trade and upgrade is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. That is just one of those Saskatchewan things that puts a smile on your face.
Yeah, absolutely quintessential. And boy, last night would have been a cold night in there with those temperatures very, very low. But I think there's a warm-up in store. And you know, today, a pretty important day in the world of meteorology, because this is the day that we throw the prognosticating over to the groundhogs. Now, in Saskatchewan, this is a little bit of a challenge because, well, we don't have a groundhog. So we have to rely on neighboring groundhogs to give us our spring forecasts. One groundhog like Manitoba Merv in Stonewall, just north of Winnipeg. Yes, he did see his shadow today, so 6 more weeks of winter there. But Billy in Balzac, Alberta, did not see his shadow. So we are caught in the middle. So what does this mean? I guess we have a bit of a groundhog conundrum in this province. But I can tell you that it is very, very cold in the north of the province, where extreme cold warnings are still in effect. Most of the rest of the province has seen those drop off. But if you take a look really across the country, hundreds of extreme cold warnings from Manitoba, even into the Maritimes, where they're about to see their coldest cold spell since about February of 2015. Could feel like minus 50 in portions of New Brunswick with the wind chill. But we are about to get into the clear, I think. Eastern and northern sections still seeing some cold conditions this afternoon, but warmer areas starting to move in. Wind chills still into the minus 30s and actually at minus 40 right now in Stony Rapids, where I think it will remain overnight. But south and central Saskatchewan going to warm up gradually through the night, landing between about minus 15 and minus 20 by tomorrow morning, and we should get out of the minus 30s for our wind chills. Now, for the north of the province, there is a bit of a system moving through. Trough of low pressure going to be bringing through some snow tonight. Heaviest snow, I think, tomorrow morning, especially as you're heading out the door to work or school. And then by the dinner hour, it's gone, leaving mostly cloudy skies. For the south of the province, I think we're actually in for a mostly sunny day in most sections anyway. Come Saturday, another system moving in. This one going to be mostly affecting the southern half of the province, south and central Saskatchewan. I think central Saskatchewan will mostly see some light snow, maybe a little bit of mixed precipitation in the south. For the north of the province, there is going to be some significant accumulation through tomorrow evening. I think probably 5 to 10 centimeters in some spots. Winds will pick up as we get warmed up in the south tonight, so look for gusts close to 40 in some areas. And then they will begin to diminish as we head through tomorrow afternoon. But as that next system moves in on Saturday, on the south side of it, they could pick up in the southwest, maybe 50 or 60 kilometers an hour or so. Our next few days in Regina, not all that bad. Tomorrow, a nice warm up, as I mentioned, some wind gusts here and there, and then we're looking for temperatures near zero, really, throughout the next week or so here. In Saskatoon, very similar look at our forecast, where those overnight lows, they will be nice and warm, staying above minus 10, and our daytime highs even getting above the freezing mark at some point. So I'm not getting too excited for spring here, Sam. That's a ways away, but this is encouraging.
I just think I'm going to put a stuffed groundhog on your Christmas list for next year so that we have one in Saskatchewan.
Yes, I need a good prop for this.
Yeah, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
An incredibly rare sight is now visible in the northern night sky. It's a green comet that hasn't been this close to the Earth since the Stone Age. This is a time-lapse assembled by Tim Doucette with the Deep Sky Eye Observatory near Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. The comet's more than 384 million kilometers away, so astronomers say your best bet, use a telescope or binoculars. But it's also moving really slowly, so you'll have most of this month to see it. This week, look for it below the North Star. We'll be back after the break. The federal Liberals have tabled legislation that will delay a change to the law on medically assisted death. That change to the legislation deals with the cases where mental illness is the sole reason for the request. Marina von Stackelberg reports.
The Liberal government says more time is needed before MAID is expanded to allow people suffering solely from a mental illness to have a medically assisted death.
I've had friends who've opted for MAID recently. It's become part of what people feel they can do. We can take the time to get this right.
More than 3% of deaths in Canada last year were from MAID. That's just over 10,000 people, most because they had cancer. The government says the group of people who want to access MAID exclusively because of mental illness is very small.
The issue of mental health is the single criteria is a very, very special case. Somebody who has a terminal disease is I think was pretty straightforward for a lot of people to be able to die in dignity. I think this is very different, and there's still a lot of people wanting to make sure it's done safely.
Advocates for assisted death say people with mental illness are being discriminated against, and an extra year is a long time.
We're talking about people generally who have treatment-resistant mental illness, who have suffered for, years, if not decades, who have tried multiple treatments over those years, and who truly have no quality of life.
The Liberal government says the extension gives the provinces and medical professionals more time to prepare for the changes and allows for ongoing studies to be completed.
I was frankly a bit confused by how they're going to use this year. They have studied this issue already. There are already expert reports on this issue.
Some doctors disagree about at what point a person with mental illness should qualify for an assisted death. But experts say that debate will still be going on in a year's time. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
The suspects in a shocking mall robbery caught on surveillance cameras north of Toronto are still at large. This was the wild scene captured inside a shopping centre in Vaughan, Ontario. The thieves crashed a stolen car through the glass doors to get inside. They drove to an electronics store to rob it and smashed through a different exit to leave. Police say they're looking for 2 suspects, but they don't have descriptions of them because they were wearing hoods. The car they used was reported stolen as well. And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
And it is going to be a nice warm up tomorrow morning in southern and central Saskatchewan. Going to be starting at -19 in Regina. Winds a little breezy in the morning hours, so it'll be feeling a bit close to -30 by 8 a.m. But the wind chill should go away, or at least weaken a bit as we head through the afternoon. -13 is what we're looking at in Regina for the noon hour. Saskatoon -18 tomorrow morning. Wind chill will actually be getting above -30. And then as we head into the afternoon, that mix of sun and clouds sticking around, also landing around -13. And it's a great time, anytime really, for sunrises and sunsets. And this sunrise photo was sent to us from Marianne out in Arborfield. And of course, Sam, people can send us photos anytime at saskphotos@cbc.ca.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel. Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night and stay warm.